Hello everyone, Zeldarinth here, and for today's video on Umamusume, we talk about the upcoming new Uma that'll be dropping here in the next couple days, Aston Machan, as well as the rerun of the support card banner for Fine Motion Wit and Summer Maruzensky. Now, I've talked about that one in the past, and we'll kind of go into depth on whether or not you want to poll on this rerun versus some other support card banners that will be coming out here in a little bit. But first, we're going to take a look at Aston Machan, whether or not she is an Uma you might want to poll for. I know she's a quite popular Uma, and a lot of people might pick her up for Oshi purposes, but how she actually performs herself is if you're kind of looking for a meta-type Uma. And so with Aston Machan here, well, you kind of take a look at her right off the bat. On her stat bonuses, she comes with 20% speed, 10% guts. Not really a fan of speed bonus in the fact that I really want to try and get my power as high as I can. And one thing I've been finding, especially in Grand Live right now, is you'll start, especially if you do a 3 speed deck, which she'll definitely be an Uma that you most likely will do 3 speed because she's a sprinter slash mile Uma. You're going to cap out your speed very, very quickly, and then power will be lagging a little bit behind in that aspect. So you really want to go heavy power sparks in her. But overall, I mean, she will consistently get you your max speed when it comes to Grand Live, as well as other scenarios here in the future. You're just going to want to have to focus on getting her power sparks. And on the aptitudes, she is a miler, so we have Turf A, Short A, or not a miler, a short distance Uma, so she does sprints and miles. Is Turf, Front, and Pace. Now, she is G in literally everything else here. So going to be a painful to make as a parent in the aspect that trying to get her to do full dirt rotation, because we kind of need a mixture of dirt and medium in there. And the dirts or the dirt mediums are dead on arrival unless you get those both up, which even then with independent training will get still a lot of losses. And she is, when we take a look here at her unique skill, she is actually a decent inherit for sprints. And that's because when you look at it, increase the ability to break out of the pack with a strong desire to linger in fans' hearts when pressured towards the front with 400 meters or less remaining. And so this one's a towards the front one, 400 meters or less. And on sprints, that is like literally right as you're entering the spurt. And so it has a 0.3 acceleration tied to it with a 0.25 increase the speed. So it can work both as your acceleration, if you hit it right on as you start the last spurt, as well as if you're already past that point, you've already got your acceleration, it can work as just a good speed boost. And then when inherited, it does have a 0.1 acceleration and then a small 0.05. This will be a very good inherit for your front runners and even potentially your pace chasers on the sprints. Just for that sake of having that 0.1 acceleration. As you know, with sprints, you're always trying to gamble any kind of acceleration you can get, whether it's like head-on, neck and neck. You have ignited power. And now this is another one you can kind of use for your frontliners as an inherit, as well as using her yourself, as she's she gets the full 0.3 acceleration alongside 0.25 speed. Now, when it comes to her skills that she has built in, she has wet conditions in for the so whenever you have that, and you want to, if you do as a front runner, one of your greens, when you need wet conditions for groundwork, which nice enough, she does have groundwork built in it, so she is another Uma now that has groundwork built in, as well as taking the lead, so you do not have to use the Mihono Bourbon Wit card with her to get taking the lead. She just outright has it built in. And then when it comes to sprint, she also has sprint corners. And then she has Light as a Fighter / In High Spirits Gold. If you remember, we were getting this one from Guts Box Sheen, so that's another card she no longer has to use because she just outright has it built in. And so as you can see, very strong for going right into sprint right off the bat. Pretty much everything built in really well there that she needs. Then you kind of come down here, she has Front Runner Savvy, so that's a second green if it's a wet conditions track with Front Runner. Shifting gears for your mile and a productive plan, which is pretty nice. Now, when it comes to her evolutions, she actually has, I really like her evolution here for taking the lead. One of the reasons that I find that she will be a pretty fun ace to kind of try out in some sprints and maybe even potentially miles. And that's because she evolves taking the lead. If you remember, taking the lead, very strong, but it does not last very long. It only lasts 1.2 seconds, while your groundwork lasts 3 seconds. So while this is very strong on getting you out of the gate really fast, groundwork is the one that keeps you accelerating after this one ends. What she evolves taking the lead to do is now it lasts for 4 seconds. So it lasts longer than groundwork. So pairing this alongside groundwork and in the future, the gold version of groundwork, I mean, she's going to be the one in the front a good majority of the time just because of how much acceleration she has. Now, I mean, of course, if there's a runaway, the runaways have a lot of potential to be ahead of her as well, like Silent Suzuka, her evolution having acceleration built in as well. But with all this, is very, very strong for her as a front runner and getting herself to the front early on because of that. And then her evolution for In High Spirits actually makes In High Spirits a lot better. Now, as you know, this was a speed skill. We are looking for it as kind of a gamble speed carryover or speed push-up on the sprints here. She actually adds in an acceleration to it. And so that it makes it even better overall. And with the acceleration built in, if it's timed poorly, because sometimes the timing would be you hit the acceleration zone and then you'd hit high spirits, and then it's kind of useless. If you hit the acceleration zone where you're trying to accelerate, increasing target speed's not valuable in that aspect. This one, by adding acceleration to it, it makes it even better, where you have more positionings where it can activate and still be valuable, because you will now get acceleration, of course. So very strong there. Overall, to me, going to be one of the strongest front runners for sprints. Very usable as well in miles, especially if she's your Oshi. If you're one of those crazy people who wants to go all in on building her for mediums or longs, I feel like she can do fine there. Because while you can't use In High Spirits, taking the lead being built in, very strong. And then the evolution, making it where she should very easily be the one to get out into the front as a front runner. Very early race. And so with her coming out, she's actually going to be out in time if you want to last second build her for the upcoming CM. Now, you don't get this advantage right here, but you do get, of course, the taking the lead built in already, so you don't have to use that garbage Mihono Bourbon stat stick and can use a much better wit card for her. But you'll have to get pretty much everything else outside that one there. But overall, really, really good Uma. To me, a very good meta pickup for sprints as an inherit. But sprints are a lot more fewer and far between, as well as much more gambly. And thus, I feel like she's an easy skip for a lot of people. And potentially, if you're willing to spend money, a selector option. But if you really like sprints and you want to have build as strong of aces as you can, especially front runners and pace chasers, which typically, especially in the upcoming ones, are going to be the strongest Umas for it, you will definitely want to have her inherit as just another good gamble excel. And just having her yourself makes it a lot easier. She will be a little bit painful to build as a parent, though, especially with this independent training. She's going to have lower affinity just in general because it can be very hard to get a good dirt rotation setup where you're going to need medium in the grandparents and great-grandparents, and then dirts on the grandparent itself, to then try and get her up to, I believe, at least dirt E, and then medium C, I believe is what your target. You would go for medium C, dirt E, and if you get that, she can win a good chunk of the races for high affinity, but that's a lot of work to get that set up. Long term, we'll eventually have that, but even I am still trying to get the dirt rotation fully set up for somebody like her, and that is going to take some time. And then, of course, her deck's going to be a little bit more painful. I will say, though, having 20% speed, one of the things you could do because of how much of a bonus this is it makes it a little bit easier to bring in that flexible card. So you can bring in like a Flex Guts card for her. There's some future good ones that you could potentially use. As well as, I think, well, you wouldn't really want to bring Boxing Guts here, but it does open up a lot of options with your flex cards having 20% speed bonus. But not having power bonus really sucks, in my opinion. But that's just me, personally. Now, when it comes to other Umas coming up kind of around her, we could, who knows if we'll actually get this, but they did do a rerun of Seeking the Pearl because they ended the banner early on the JP side. I don't think we'll get it ourselves, as this one just kind of overlapped in JP with other banners to kind of make up for them closing it early. So they probably won't give us that, but Seeking the Pearl will drop, of course. Again, if she does, you'll have a chance there. You should have already pulled for her if you actually wanted her, so think most would skip that. And then when it comes to other big ones, there's no like must-haves or really strong ones until, to me, Narita Bryan Blaze. I feel like Narita Bryan Blaze is a very strong selector option just because she won't have a track or CM that she's good at until after 2nd anniversary. And if you're willing to use a selector, she's like the best selector option. But she is a good one that'll be coming up, as well as the New Year's Kita-san Black and Satono Diamond for medium races on Kita-san Black herself. So it's still a decent distance away, and so you can have some time to save up. Of course, you still need to keep saving up for Major Romanu, and so he could be a potential skip / pickup down the road on a selector. Now, when it comes to the support card side of things, we have the Fine Motion Wit card as well as Summer Zensky that'll be dropping together. Now, this is one I talked a lot about in the past alongside another rerun banner, and it's basically, to me, if you're needing any of these cards, a decision between which of the two to pull on. So you have this one, if you're in need of that speed card for some extra stat stick, you have Summer Zensky on here. Low limit breaks needed on this one. You don't need a lot of limit breaks here. Limit break 1 to get basically the bulk of the benefit, and the next threshold being limit break 3. And then Fine Motion being a very good wit card. Used to be kind of the primary wit card that was very strong for everybody to use, but now there's been a lot that have come out that can work just as well as Fine Motion as like a core stat stick. So by no means is Fine Motion a must-have anymore, as you can pretty much make work with any of the good ones that have come out, which is where we go and look at the next rerun banner that you kind of might want to compare this to, and that's the one with Super Creek Stamina and Mr. CB Wit. So if you're in no need of Summer Zensky, or you've already got Limit Break 1 Summer Zensky, and you need dupes or copies of Super Creek to get her the max limit break, because Super Creek is very backloaded for that initial friendship that is super important, as you already know, with Grand Live, but will continue to be very important. She is paired with Mr. CB Wit, which is also a very good stat stick wit. And to me, in a lot of cases, right now I've been using Fine Motion primarily because she has Nimble Nav, Fall Runner, and right-handed, which has been very good for these CMs we've been having. But once we get past the Fall Runner, you start losing some of that value. Of course, Nimble Nav and right-handed will still have a lot of value in some of the right-handed tracks. But Mr. CB, what she has, one, very good for your end closers, but also what I like is she does have skill point bonus, which you've probably already seen now in Grand Live, how strong that can be. You see it with Agnes Tanky and Speed with 2 skill point bonus. And getting on your wit card that you're hopefully going to be hitting a lot on your high roll, this can get you a lot of skill points. So a big advantage there that you really don't see here. And stat sticks fairly similar at lower copies. I believe she also has... Now, I don't believe she does have training effectiveness like Fine Motion, or... Yeah, she does, but not as much. Yeah, it stays at 5%. But still very solid for wit itself. A little bit more. And a little bit more friendship as well. Even at Limit Break 1, you get 1 more friendship than you get with Fine Motion. She does have good skills. I know you have like Tail Held High. For mediums, you have Medium Corners, Home Stretch Haste. If you need Straightaway Spurt, of course you have that built in. Really not reliable for getting some of these things that you specifically need, especially Straightaway Spurt for like the Arima Keenan that'll be coming out. But she is an option for that, and of course your end closers, Daring Strike, very strong there. It makes her better than Fine Motion just in that respect. But I feel like either one of these works as your stat stick, and ultimately you're going to be pulling on Major Romanu for your other main core wit card that you'll be using everywhere, paired with another wit card, which could be either one of these two. And so ultimately, when it comes to deciding if you want to pull on either of these reruns, it's whether you need Summer Zensky or Super Creek. Now, Super Creek, of course, you want MLB. So you will have to go heavy into this if you have 0 copies. Versus Summer Zensky, who can work at low limit break, and thus you can maybe pull on this. If you have neither of them, if you're brand new, get your Limit Break 1 Summer Zensky, and then you could maybe borrow Super Creek. It's ultimately going to depend on your decks. There's everybody's decks are like way varied at this point. But to me, the better banner ultimately is the Super Creek Mr. CB one, unless you already have Super Creek maxed, max limit break, of course. And so that's my thoughts there. There's a lot of other little support cards in here. I don't think there's really no must pulls on the support card side of things. I am looking at making a long extended video of going through every support card through Lark. It's just taking a little bit of time to put it, or taking me a little bit of time to actually get to it. But I eventually will cover every single support card going through Lark, and then I'll probably do the same thing with Umas. For anyone that kind of wants a general idea of what they might want to pull for and plan for when you kind of plan out your carrots in the carrot calculator. But that's going to be it for now, and if you like my content, if you like, comment, subscribe, it really helps, and thanks for watching.